So hi guys, welcome to Creative Ace. Today is ceramics round 2, or after our clear dip, and so I just want to take a moment and talk about a couple of the pieces and the process as to how it happened, why it happened like it did. So this is a piece that went through the firing the first time, and this was the first clear dip on the outside. And what was funny enough about this piece is that it was meant to be, it's like a little rock water dish for like a lizard container, and so this texture, like this kind of satin matte texture that's happening on the outside from just like the one thin clear dip, seemed to be really working beautifully for like rock texture, you know, because rocks aren't perfectly glossy and smooth. And then what happened is that we went back and re-glossed the insides. But the thing is that with most of them, I used the glaze that was made that day. The batch of glaze that was made that day was a little bit thinner than what I like. It felt thin to me, and so it felt thin, and so this is a second glaze on the inside of this cup, and the transfers worked like really beautifully in this one. I think I touched up a little bit with some underglaze pencil to crisp up the lines, because we were like having some different types of, like, the transfers were transferring in varying degrees of darkness. So this one was one that it made sense to go back and just kind of like clean up some of the line work. Yeah, because we did 2 transfers, then it was still kind of fuzzy. But then the inside of this one is like, it's just a little rough. And I think that when I spoke to PSH, this happens with the yellow, and this seems to happen with the pink. And then even the second dip didn't really do what I thought it was going to do. And that's because I think the glaze was just too thin. When I went back the day to actually like load and fire, the glaze that they had was this one here. And so this piece I had actually forgotten to bring on my like round 2 clear glaze and dip, or clear dip and fire. Like I forgot to bring this one, so I brought it in because I was like, I really wanted to do the second layer of glaze on the inside. But this was from the new glaze batch that was there, which seemed to be like more the thickness of like a creamy soup versus like the thickness of like a thin soup kind of thing. So obviously it makes a big difference on the thickness of the glaze and how it goes on. I'm not sure if this thickness of glaze would have fixed the bubbling in the yellow and the pinks, but either way, like it, anyways, this piece turned out really nice. So I wanted to share kind of a moment of what it looks like with a thin glaze on the outside and then with a thick glaze on the inside, because, you know, everything's an experiment, and this one turned out really interestingly. But there's still, so this is a snake that somebody did. But when I had it on the picks, because if you clear dip something entirely, then you have to put it up on, like, you have to raise it. But the snake was like so long that the middle of it drooped in the firing and touched the bottom right here. So this touched the kiln shelf, and then this is some kiln wash that came off. But I have like a little Dremel rotary tool, so we're going to sand down anywhere that this happened on any of them where the underglaze stuck or the glaze stuck. And even this was a really good example of how difficult it was to actually get a thick coating on for a second round firing even. So yeah, it's like, it's satiny, it's glossy in some places, but it's more satin kind of thing. So this just is like lessons learned for me as a player. And then like here's there was one coat on this the first time and it looked pretty good, but I really wanted to get that second coat in there. But even with the second coat, like this is the thinner glaze that was there before. The second coat does make it glossy, but it's still like a little like where it breaks. Like you call the peaks of where the glaze will run away from, like that's called like where the glaze will break kind of thing, because it kind of runs away from the sharp edges. But like even there, it's a little rough, and I mean that's okay and stuff. But with thicker glaze, I find that the edges just are nicer and smoother and softer and glassier. Whereas with the thin glaze, it kind of really absorbs into it, and so you get like sharper ridges or rougher textures. But all in all, the second firing did fix a lot of what I felt was like kind of too satiny in the first firing. And I'll know for future to just do 2 coats if I feel like it's thin. But yeah, that other rock gloss glaze was really good too. So I'm looking forward to glazing with that maybe on our next round if it's still there by the time we get there. But yeah, so really happy with how a lot of these turned out. This is like a little paint palette that was splattered. And we didn't end up glazing the bottom. We kind of let this, and it actually didn't stick to the kiln shelf, which is nice. So got this beautiful colored kind of thing here. And I mean, I could have glossed the whole thing and then put it up on those little picks on the stilts, but we actually didn't have enough stilts. So we're going to be ordering more stilts for the guild and for our program to be using. So yay on that. We're really excited. Yeah, so maybe, yeah, so the next time around, maybe we'll feel safer kind of glazing the bottoms of everything and then just raising it all up on stilts. So yeah, looking forward to that. Yeah, so